Hello, my name is Chris Gorse and I'm here with Andy Aldridge from 3A Developments. We're in the Beehive building. Andy's developing this for as a low carbon project, and I'm just really interested in what sort of drove you to sort of take the steps to making this a low energy building, and what are you planning to do with the structure?
We've always been committed to being energy conservers, and most of that will go down to our adopted Yorkshireman values and traits. But what we're trying to do is we want to reduce the amount of energy and reduce the running costs of the building fundamentally, and create an environment where people enjoy coming to work and feel as though that they're actually making a contribution to the environment.
Yeah. It's quite an interesting project because it's an old building, got substantial walls. How are you going to insulate? How are you going to use the structure to get what you want from it? What are you doing to the building fabric?
Well, our thinking is that the existing fabric isn't sufficient to basically conserve heat. So our plans are to put an inner wall and insulate a heavily insulated inner wall. Heavily insulated roof structure, and also introduce an insulated ground floor slab, which hopefully will improve the thermal performance of the building fabric.
Yeah. So essentially you're going to be creating a building within a building, an insulated sort of fabric within this space. So I'm looking around, I can see the walls there. A substantial, about 450 mil thick.
Yep.
And I noticed that there's a lot of thermal mass here, but we've chosen to insulate on the inside. Any reasons for that, or?
None other than we think that the thermal mass with the existing walls won't be enough and won't be sufficient. Okay. And what we're trying to do is get a building that's as energy efficient as it possibly can. So the more that we can introduce without compromising too much floor space, the better.
Okay. There's a lot of questions about air barriers. What's your main thoughts about making sure that you've got an air barrier in the building?
Well, from the research and the work that we've done already, then it appears that that's fundamentally what we need to make sure that we've got an air barrier and good air tightness, and really, you know, we're looking to work with Leeds Met to try and sort of give us some guidance on how to best achieve it. It's something we've not done previously on the first phase of the Beehive, and obviously I think we may be missing the trick, so that's why we've asked yourselves to get involved.
Okay. We'll have a look at a couple of the other areas of the building, if that's okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Just have a look at things. Thank you. So we're in the roof space. What are you proposing to do with the structure here, Andrew?
Right. First challenge that we've come across on the building is we've had our structural engineer, carry out an assessment on the existing timber truss roof structure. It's an attic truss, and we're obviously looking to put office space within the attic truss space. The existing trusses won't take the loads and won't take the floor loads that we're going to superimpose on them, so we're obviously looking at a new roof structure, but obviously we need to have a similar sort of configuration, but one thing that we're very aware of is that we obviously need to insulate that roof structure if we're going to achieve the thermal insulation levels that we want to. We're also going to need to look at from the research and our own assessment, look at the detailing, particularly around where the truss meets the wall, and also where surface penetrations take place through, from the structure through into the actual rooms themselves. The other thing that we're obviously very aware of is we're introducing V-Lux, most probably V-Lux or roof lights, to obviously improve natural daylight in the space. But obviously we're concerned about that in terms of how that's going to affect our air tightness and etc.
You've obviously got all of the main areas covered that I think we pick up, so it's going to be interesting to learn how we overcome those problems that the EUs and develops, and certainly service penetrations are one of the areas that most builders are getting wrong at the moment, so that's going to be another thing that's going to be interesting to see how that develops. So thanks for that, Andy.
Okay, no worries.
Andy, we're in the basement. What have you done here and what are you proposing to do?
From when we acquired the building, basically what we've ended up doing is stripping everything back to the structure, stripped everything, all the internal walls out, and all the walls to the outer wall, or the inner walls to the outer wall, if that makes sense. We've also realised we've found that there was no DPM underneath the ground floor slab, or the lower ground floor slab. And we made a conscious decision, because there was no insulation under the ground floor slab, that we'd actually take the formation level down to give us an option to actually put in 200 or 300 mil of floor insulation underneath the floor, but at the same time would also give us a little bit more head height within the basement area.
Yeah. What sort of heating are you using?
The intention is to use underfloor heating, which will obviously give a good all-round ambient temperature, and obviously nicely warm the ground floor slab, which will be concrete, whereas the ground and first floors will end up being timber.
Any specific details you're looking at this in this area?
Well, originally it was just going to be a traditional construction, but having done a bit of research and looking at improving thermal performance to buildings, what we've come across is actually the detail between the floor slab and the external wall is most probably critical, which is something I'd never come across in 20 odd years of experience within the industry, and it's amazing what you find out when you start looking. The other things we've obviously got to be aware of, again, is where the floor beams which form the ceiling above are obviously going to puncture into the wall as well.
Yeah. So you've obviously got the column bridging under your hat, really, and just
quite apt on a day like today, if you can see my breath.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to look at how this project develops, and there's obviously a lot of details that we're going to look at. With some interest and drawing some people, so it'd be good to see.
Look forward to working with you.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.